Amy Carter had been flying patrol missions for 3 years, but she had never seen anything like this. Her small scout ship drifted through the asteroid field near Mars while she checked her scanner readings for the 5th time that morning. The readings were all wrong. Metal fragments floated everywhere in patterns that made no sense. Something big had exploded here, and recently. She pushed the throttle forward and moved deeper into the debris field. Pieces of what looked like a spacecraft tumbled slowly past her cockpit window. The metal was unlike anything Earth had ever produced. It was too smooth and too bright, and it seemed to bend light in strange ways. Amy felt her heart beating faster as she realized what she was looking at. This was alien technology. Her scanner beeped again and showed a faint energy signature, coming from a larger piece of wreckage about 200 meters away. Amy guided her ship toward it carefully. She did not want to damage her hull on the floating debris. As she got closer, she could see that the wreckage was actually part of a cockpit. The transparent material that should have been the front window was cracked but still holding together. Inside the cockpit, she could see movement. Amy brought her ship alongside the wreckage and activated her docking clamps. The magnetic seals locked onto the alien hull with a soft thud. She checked her suit seals and grabbed her emergency medical kit before cycling through the airlock. The alien cockpit still had atmosphere, but her scanner showed it was slowly leaking into space. The first thing she noticed was the smell. It was sharp and clean like ozone after a thunderstorm. The second thing she noticed was the being slumped over the control panel. He was tall and thin with skin that looked like polished silver. His limbs were longer than human proportions, but he had 2 arms and 2 legs and a head that was roughly the right size. What struck her most were his eyes. They were large and seemed to shift color like oil on water. Purple blood pooled beneath him and more seeped from wounds across his chest and arms. His breathing was shallow and rapid. Amy did not need medical training to know he was dying. The alien's eyes opened and focused on her with obvious effort. He tried to speak but only managed a weak sound that might have been words in a language she had never heard. Then he raised one arm and pointed at a device wrapped around his wrist. The device was pulsing with soft light that was getting weaker with each pulse. Amy knelt beside him and looked at the device. It showed symbols that meant nothing to her, but the pattern was clear. The pulses matched his heartbeat, and both were slowing down. She looked back at his face and saw something that needed no translation. He was asking for help. She had no idea if human medicine would work on an alien, but she had to try. Amy opened her medical kit and found the emergency blood transfusion equipment. She had used it twice before on injured pilots, and the procedure was simple enough. The hard part would be finding a vein in anatomy she did not understand. The alien seemed to realize what she was trying to do. He held out his arm and pointed to a spot where Amy could see a dark line beneath his silver skin. It looked like it might be a blood vessel. She prepared the needle and inserted it as gently as she could. The alien flinched but did not pull away. Purple blood began flowing into the collection tube. Amy quickly set up the other end of the transfusion line and found a vein in her own arm. She had no idea if this would work. Human blood might poison him or do nothing at all. But she could not watch a thinking being die without trying to help. The moment her red blood entered his system, the alien's eyes went wide. His whole body tensed, and the device on his wrist began pulsing faster. For a terrible moment, Amy thought she had made things worse. Then she noticed that his wounds had stopped bleeding. The purple blood was clotting much faster than it should have. Amy watched in amazement as the smaller cuts on his arms began to close. The alien was staring at her with an expression she could not read. His breathing was becoming stronger and more regular. The device on his wrist was now pulsing with bright, steady light. After 20 minutes, Amy judged that she had given him enough blood. She disconnected the transfusion line and bandaged both their arms. The alien sat up slowly and looked at his hands as if he had never seen them before. He flexed his fingers and watched the silver skin move. Then he looked at Amy again. "Thank you," he said in perfect English. Amy nearly fell over. "You can speak our language?" "I can now," he said. His voice was deeper than she had expected, but the words were clear. Your blood has changed me in ways I do not understand. I can access information that was never mine before. What kind of information? Your language, your basic anatomy? The way your technology works. He gestured toward her scanner. I can read your instruments now. I know what they measure and how they function. Amy stared at him. That's impossible. Many things are impossible until they happen. He tried to stand and managed it with only a little difficulty. I'm called Vexhai. My people are the Corvani. We come from a world your astronomers call Kepler 452b. I'm Amy Carter. I'm a lieutenant in the Earth Defense Force. Earth Defense Force, Vexhai repeated. You have organized military units. That is good. You will need them soon. Something cold settled in Amy's stomach. What do you mean? My ship was destroyed by the hegemony. They are a coalition of the oldest and most powerful species in this galaxy. They have ruled for thousands of years, and they do not permit new species to rise to power. Are you saying they're coming here? They are already coming. My people discovered something about your species that frightened them. We learned that human blood contains properties that exist nowhere else in the galaxy. The hegemony detected our research and moved to eliminate us before we could share what we learned. Amy felt the world shifting around her. What properties? I do not fully understand it myself, but your blood can do things that should not be possible. It can enhance other species in ways that change everything we know about biology and evolution. Enhanced how? Vexhai held up his hand and concentrated. Amy watched in shock as the remaining wounds on his arm began to close completely. The silver skin knitted itself back together without leaving any scars. I am healing at a rate that should be impossible for my species. But that is just the beginning. He walked to her scanner and placed his hand on the display. The screen lit up with information that had not been there before. Technical readouts in languages Amy did not recognize appeared alongside the standard. Readings. I can now interface with your technology directly. My nervous system has been altered to process information in ways that were not possible before. Amy stared at the impossible readings on her scanner. The hegemony wants to destroy us because of this? They want to destroy you because they know what this means. If other species learn that human blood can grant these abilities, then the balance of power in the galaxy will shift. The hegemony has maintained control by keeping the various species separate and weak. They cannot allow that to change. How long do we have? Perhaps months, perhaps less. They will send scout ships first to confirm what my people discovered. Then they will bring fleets large enough to sterilize your entire solar system. Amy looked out at the debris field that had been Vexhai's ship. Somewhere out there among the stars were beings with the power to do this to Earth. She thought about her family back home and the billions of people who had no idea what was coming. Will you help us? She asked. Vexhai met her eyes. You saved my life when you had no reason to trust me. You shared your blood freely, even though you did not know what it would do. Yes, Amy Carter, I will help you, but we must move quickly. The galaxy is about to change forever. Amy brought Vexhai back to the Earth Defense Force Station orbiting Luna. The medical team wanted to study him immediately, but Amy insisted they treat him as a guest rather than a specimen. She had seen enough alien autopsy movies to know how badly first contact could go wrong. Dr. Lisa Morgan was the head of xenobiology research at the station. She was a small woman with gray hair and sharp eyes who had spent her career studying the possibility of alien life. Now she was face to face with the real thing and trying not to show how excited she was. His cellular structure is completely different from anything we know, Dr. Morgan explained as she showed Amy the test results. But somehow your blood is compatible with his system. More than compatible, actually. It's actively improving his biological functions. Vexhai sat on the examination table, looking uncomfortable with all the attention. His silver skin had taken on a healthier shine since the transfusion and his wounds had healed completely. The improvement is not just physical, he said. I can feel my mind working differently. I can process information faster and make connections that were impossible before. What kind of connections? Amy asked. I understand your technology now. in ways that should take years of study. I can see patterns in your computer systems and predict how they will respond to different inputs. But more than that, I can sense the quantum fluctuations in your blood that are causing these changes. Doctor. Morgan leaned forward. Quantum fluctuations? Human blood contains proteins that exist in a state of quantum entanglement. These proteins can rewrite genetic code and enhance biological functions beyond normal limits. No other species in the galaxy has developed anything like this. Amy felt a chill. Are you saying we're different from other aliens? Very different. Most species in the galaxy evolved along similar paths. We developed intelligence and technology, but our biology remained relatively stable. Humans are unique because you continued to evolve at the quantum level even after developing complex civilization. Dr. Morgan was taking notes furiously. That would explain why we've never detected alien signals. If most species follow similar evolutionary patterns, then they would develop similar technologies and communication methods. But if we're fundamentally different, you would naturally develop different solutions to the same problems, Vexai finished. Your radio waves, your computer systems, your space travel methods are all slightly different from galactic standards. That difference kept you hidden until my people began specifically looking for quantum signatures. Amy walked to the window and looked out at Earth hanging in the darkness. How did your people find us? We were searching for new forms of life that might help us resist the hegemony. The Corvani have been enslaved for 300 years. We are forced to mine rare minerals on worlds that slowly poison us. Many of our people die young from the toxins. But you escaped? A few of us were allowed to become researchers. The hegemony uses us to study new phenomena that might threaten their control. They thought we were investigating quantum biology for academic purposes. They did not realize we were looking for a way to break free. Dr. Morgan looked up from her notes, and you found us. We detected quantum signatures coming from your solar system that matched our theoretical models. I was sent to investigate. What I found was beyond our most optimistic projections. Vexai stood and walked to the wall display. He touched it and somehow activated systems that Amy had never seen before. The screen showed complex diagrams of molecular structures and quantum field equations. Human blood can do more than heal wounds or enhance intelligence. It can fundamentally alter the relationship between biological systems and quantum mechanics. When I interface with your technology now, I am not just reading the information. I am quantum entangled with the systems themselves. Amy stared at the impossible equations on the screen. What does that mean in practical terms? It means that anyone who receives human blood becomes capable of abilities that the hegemony considers impossible. Telepathic communication across vast distances, direct control of technology through thought alone, rapid healing that can reverse age and injury, enhanced intelligence that can solve problems in minutes that would normally take years. And the hegemony is afraid of this? Terrified. They have maintained power for millennia by keeping the subject species weak and divided. If word spreads that human blood can grant these abilities, then every enslaved race in the galaxy will demand access to it. The hegemony's control depends on their technological superiority. If that advantage disappears, they will lose everything. Dr. Morgan set down her tablet. So they're planning to destroy us before anyone else finds out. They are planning to eliminate every trace of humanity from the galaxy. They will sterilize your worlds and destroy your ships. They will hunt down any human who might have escaped and any alien who might have received your blood. They cannot allow this knowledge to spread. Amy felt anger building in her chest. We never did anything to them. We don't even know they exist. Your existence is a threat to their power. That is enough. Vexai turned away from the display. But they have made a mistake. By destroying my ship, they have shown their hand too early. If they had waited, they could have eliminated your species quietly. Now there is time to prepare. How much time? The hegemony moves slowly because they are overconfident. They will send scout ships first to confirm what my people reported. Then they will debate the proper response in their councils. Then they will gather fleets from across their territory, perhaps 6 months before they arrive in force. Dr. Morgan was already thinking ahead. Can we reproduce what happened to you? If human blood can enhance other species, then we need to understand exactly how it works. The process is simple, but the implications are complex. Any species that receives human blood will gain enhanced abilities, but they will also become quantum entangled with the donor. This creates a form of connection that allows for shared consciousness and coordinated action across vast distances. Amy understood immediately. We could build an alliance. Yes, but it would require humans to give their blood freely to alien species. Many of your people might not be willing to do that. They will be when they understand what's at stake, Amy said. How many species are enslaved by the hegemony? Thousands. Most have been subjugated for so long they have forgotten what freedom means. But if they knew that liberation was possible, if they could see proof that the hegemony could be defeated, they would fight, Dr. Morgan said. They would fight. But first they would need to be enhanced. And that requires a massive supply of human blood and volunteers willing to donate it. Amy looked at her bandaged arm where she had given blood to save Vexhi's life. Such a simple act had started a chain of events that could change the galaxy forever. What if we're not strong enough? What if even with enhanced allies we can't defeat the hegemony? Then your species will die fighting for freedom instead of dying on your knees, Vexhi said. But I do not think you will lose. The hegemony has grown weak through millennia of unopposed rule. They have forgotten how to face a real challenge. You will remind them. Amy nodded slowly. Where do we start? We start by contacting the resistance movements that already exist. Hidden groups of rebels who have been waiting for a chance to strike back. They will be your first allies and your first test subjects. Dr. Morgan was already planning the medical protocols they would need. We'll need to set up blood banks and processing facilities. We'll need to train doctors to perform the transfusions safely. We'll need to establish communication networks to coordinate with alien allies. And we'll need to prepare for war, Amy added. The hegemony won't give up their power without a fight. Vexhi's eyes shifted to a deeper shade of gold. The war has already begun. The moment you saved my life, you declared that humanity would not accept the galaxy as it is. Now we must prove that humanity can build something better. Amy looked out at the stars again. Somewhere out there were beings who wanted to destroy her species simply for existing. But there were also beings who had been waiting centuries for hope. Human blood might be the key to everything, but it would take human courage to turn that key. Then we better get started, she said. The news spread through Earth's governments like wildfire. Within 48 hours, every major world leader knew that aliens existed and that humanity was about to face extinction. The United Nations called an emergency session while military. Commanders across the globe began preparing for the unthinkable. General Robert Hayes was chosen to lead the Unified Earth Defense Command. He was a veteran of 3 wars and had spent his career planning for conflicts that seemed impossible. Now he faced an enemy that could destroy entire solar systems, and he had 6 months to prepare. "Show me everything," he said as he walked into the briefing room where Amy, Dr. Morgan, and Vexhi were waiting. Dr. Morgan activated the holographic display. "We've confirmed that human blood contains quantum-entangled proteins that can rewrite genetic code. When introduced to alien biology, these proteins enhance intelligence, physical abilities, and create a form of technological interface that shouldn't be possible." "What kind of enhancement are we talking about?" Vexhi stepped forward. "May I demonstrate, General?" Hayes nodded. Vexhi walked to the room's main computer terminal and placed his hand on the surface. The screens around the room came alive with data streams and tactical displays that showed real-time information about Earth's defenses. "I am now connected to your entire military network," Vexhi explained. "I can access any system, coordinate multiple operations simultaneously, and process information at speeds that would require your fastest computers. This is what human blood has given me." Hayes watched the impossible display with growing amazement. And any alien species can gain these abilities? Any species that receives a transfusion will be enhanced. But the effects vary depending on the recipient's natural biology. Some species gain greater physical strength. Others develop enhanced mental abilities. A few become capable of limited telepathic communication. Dr. Morgan pulled up her research files. We've been working with volunteers from the international community. So far, we've processed blood from over 300 donors. The quantum signature is consistent across all human populations regardless of ethnicity or geographic origin. How much blood do we need? A standard transfusion of about 500 milliliters is sufficient to trigger the enhancement process. The effects are permanent and seem to improve over time as the recipient's system adapts. Hayes did the math quickly. If we can process donations from even 10% of Earth's population, we could enhance millions of alien allies. But first, we need to find them. Amy had been quiet during the technical discussion, but now she spoke up. Vexhai has been in contact with resistance groups throughout the galaxy. They're willing to meet with us, but they want proof that we can actually help them. What kind of proof? They want to see enhanced beings in action. They've been oppressed for so long that they need to believe liberation is possible before they'll risk everything to fight. Vexhai nodded. The hegemony has spent centuries convincing subject species that resistance is futile. They've made examples of rebels by destroying entire worlds. Most species are too frightened to even consider rebellion. Then we'll give them something to believe in, Hayes said. What do you need? A ship capable of faster-than-light travel and a crew willing to make contact with alien resistance fighters. We'll need to demonstrate the enhancement process and show them what enhanced beings can accomplish. Dr. Morgan looked concerned. General, we don't fully understand the long-term effects of the enhancement process. We're asking people to undergo permanent biological changes to help alien species we've never met. Doctor, in 6 months the hegemony will arrive to destroy our entire civilization. I think the time for caution has passed. Amy stepped forward. I volunteered to lead the contact mission. I'm already connected to Vexhai through the blood transfusion. That should help with communications. Hayes studied her carefully. Commander. Carter, you're asking me to send you into unknown space to make contact with alien rebels. You could be captured, killed, or worse. Sir, with respect, that's going to happen to all of us if we don't build an alliance. At least this way we have a chance to fight back. Vexhai accessed the computer systems again and displayed a star map. I can guide us to 3 different resistance cells within a month's travel. The Zephyrions are insectoid beings with natural telepathic abilities. Enhancement should make them capable of coordinating large-scale operations across vast distances. The Kronthak are a warrior species that has been forced into slavery. They have the tactical knowledge to lead military campaigns. The Nexari are technological specialists who have been maintaining hegemony equipment for centuries. They understand the enemy's weaknesses. What about the hegemony's response? Hayes asked. Won't they notice when they start disappearing? The resistance movements are already hidden. The hegemony considers them a minor annoyance rather than a real threat. They will not investigate seriously until the enhanced rebels begin major operations. Dr. Morgan was reviewing the logistics. We can set up mobile blood processing units on the ship. If we take a medical team and enough volunteers, we can enhance hundreds of aliens during the mission. Hayes made his decision. Commander Carter, you'll lead the contact mission. Take whatever crew and equipment you need. Dr. Morgan, I want you to establish blood collection centers in every major city on Earth. We're going to need thousands of volunteers. Amy felt the weight of responsibility settling on her shoulders. What about the hegemony scouts? Vexhai said they would arrive first. We'll detect them when they enter the solar system. Our deep space sensors are already being upgraded with alien technology. When they come, we'll be ready. Vexhai looked troubled. General, there is something else you should know. The enhancement process creates a quantum connection between the donor and recipient. Humans who give blood to aliens will feel a bond with them. It may affect their judgment and loyalty. Are you saying our people might choose aliens over Earth? I'm saying that the connections created by enhanced blood go beyond simple alliance. Humans and aliens who share this bond become part of something larger. They begin to think in terms of galactic civilization rather than individual species. Hayes considered this. Is that necessarily a bad thing? It depends on your perspective. For the hegemony, it represents the end of their control. For humanity, it might represent the beginning of something unprecedented in galactic history. Amy understood what Vexhai was really saying. We're not just building an alliance. We're creating a new form of civilization. Yes, the quantum connections will link enhanced beings across the galaxy. They will share knowledge, coordinate actions, and develop technologies that no single species could create alone. The hegemony fears this because it would make their rule obsolete. Dr. Morgan looked excited despite the dangers. We're talking about the next stage of evolution. Not just for humanity, but for all intelligent life in the galaxy. That's what makes this so dangerous, Hayes said. We're not just fighting for Earth's survival. We're fighting for the right to change the fundamental nature of galactic civilization. Amy walked to the star map and studied the locations of the resistance cells. How long do we have before the hegemony's main fleet arrives? 5 months, perhaps less if they detect our activities. Then we better move fast. Amy turned to face the others. I'll take volunteers only. Anyone who comes with me needs to understand that we might not be coming back. Hayes nodded. I'll have the ship ready in 72 hours. How many crew do you need? 20 people maximum. We need to move quickly and quietly. A small enhanced team should be more effective than a large traditional crew. Vexhai made final adjustments to the star map. I will send coded messages to the resistance cells. They will be expecting us, but they will also be suspicious. Many previous liberation attempts have failed. This one won't fail, Amy said with more confidence than she felt. We have something no one has ever had before. What's that? Dr. Morgan asked. Amy looked around the room at the faces of people who were about to risk everything for species they had never met. We have humans willing to give their blood to save strangers. The hegemony has never faced anything like that before. As the meeting broke up, Amy realized that she was about to become part of something that would reshape the galaxy. The scared lieutenant who had saved a dying alien was becoming a leader in a revolution that would either free billions of beings or destroy everything she had ever known. But when she thought about all the enslaved species waiting in the darkness for someone to offer them hope, she knew there was no choice. Humanity would give its blood freely and trust that the galaxy would become something better because of it. The ship that carried Amy into deep space was called the Unity. It was built from a combination of human engineering and alien technology that Vexhai had helped design. The crew of 20 volunteers knew they might never see Earth again, but they had all chosen to come anyway. Dr. Morgan had trained them in the blood transfusion procedures during the 3-day journey to the first contact point. Each crew member carried enough medical equipment to enhance dozens of aliens. They also carried something more valuable than technology. They carried hope. The Zephyrian resistance base was hidden inside a hollowed-out asteroid in a system the hegemony had abandoned after stripping it of useful minerals. Amy felt nervous as they approached the coordinates Vexhai had provided. She was about to meet aliens that humanity had never encountered and ask them to trust her with their lives. The asteroid's surface looked dead and lifeless, but Vexhai guided them to a concealed docking bay. As the Unity settled onto the landing platform, Amy could see movement in the shadows. The Zephyrians were watching them carefully. The first alien to approach their ship was unlike anything Amy had imagined. She was tall and graceful, with 4 arms and compound eyes that reflected light like jewels. Her skin was a pale green color and seemed to shimmer as she moved. Behind her came a dozen more Zephyrians, all moving with the same fluid coordination. I am Zarathis, the leader said through a translation device. We have been waiting for proof that liberation is possible. Show us. Amy had practiced this moment many times, but she still felt uncertain as she rolled up her sleeve. We need to perform a blood transfusion. The process will enhance your abilities, but it will also create a permanent connection between us. What kind of connection? Vexai stepped forward and the Zephyrians backed away nervously. They had never seen an enhanced being before, and his silver skin seemed to glow with inner light. I will show you, he said, without touching any controls. Vexai activated the asteroid's communication systems. Displays around the docking bay came alive with information about hegemony fleet movements and tactical data. I am connected to every system within range. I can coordinate operations across multiple locations simultaneously. This is what human blood can do. Zarathus studied the displays with growing excitement. The tactical possibilities are extraordinary. Our natural telepathic abilities combined with this enhancement could allow us to command fleets with perfect coordination. Will you trust us? Amy asked. We have been slaves for 800 years. If there is even a small chance of freedom, we must take it. The transfusion process took 2 hours. Amy watched as her blood flowed into Zarathus and saw the immediate changes. The Zephyrian's compound eyes began to glow brighter, and she stood straighter, as if a great weight had been lifted from her shoulders. I can feel your thoughts, Zarathus said in perfect English. Not the words, but the emotions behind them. You truly want to help us even though we are strangers to you. Freedom isn't something that should be reserved for one species. Amy replied. Within minutes, Zarathus was interfacing with systems throughout the asteroid base. She could access databases, coordinate with other resistance cells, and process tactical information at speeds that amazed even Vexai. But more importantly, she could share these abilities with other Zephyrians through their natural telepathic connections. This changes everything, she said as enhancement spread through the Zephyrian population. We can coordinate attacks across dozens of systems simultaneously. The hegemony will never know where we will strike next. The next stop was a frozen moon where the Kronthek resistance had hidden their main base. The warrior species had been enslaved for 6 centuries and forced to fight in gladiatorial games for hegemony entertainment. They were bigger and stronger than humans with thick gray skin and eyes like burning coals. Their leader was called Thorik, and he greeted Amy with obvious suspicion. We have heard promises of liberation before. They always end in death. This is different, Amy said. We're not asking you to fight for us. We're asking you to fight with us. Show me this enhancement you speak of. Amy connected the transfusion equipment and began the blood transfer. Thorik watched silently as human blood entered his system. The changes were dramatic and immediate. His already impressive muscles became more defined and his reflexes improved noticeably. But the real transformation was mental. I can see battle patterns that were invisible before, he said with wonder. I understand the flow of combat across multiple dimensions. I can predict enemy movements and coordinate complex strategies without conscious thought. Within hours, the enhanced Kronthek were demonstrating combat abilities that seemed impossible. They could fight as a perfectly coordinated unit while maintaining individual initiative. They could interface with weapon systems and vehicles in ways that made them incredibly effective warriors. The hegemony has made us fight each other for their amusement, Thorik said. Now we will show them what true warriors can accomplish when they fight together. The third contact was with Nexari on a space station hidden in a nebula. These aliens were small and delicate with pale blue skin and large heads that housed powerful brains. They had been forced to maintain hegemony technology for 300 years and knew the enemy systems better than anyone. Their leader Kethfer was the most cautious of the 3 resistance commanders. We have seen what happens to species that oppose the hegemony. Entire worlds burn to ash. Are you certain your enhancement can protect us? Amy was beginning to understand that each species brought different strengths to the alliance. The enhancement won't make you invulnerable, but it will give you abilities the hegemony has never encountered. They won't know how to defend against what they can't understand. Kethfer accepted the transfusion and immediately began interfacing with the station systems in ways that amazed even his own people. I can rewrite their security protocols from the inside. I can turn their own technology against them. This is beyond anything we hoped for, the enhanced Nexari quickly proved. They could hack into hegemony networks and steal information without being detected. They could also design new technologies by combining human innovations with alien science in ways that neither species could achieve alone. As the Unity prepared to return to Earth, Amy realized they had accomplished something remarkable. 3. Different alien species had been enhanced and were already coordinating their activities across the galaxy. The quantum connections created by human blood were linking them together in ways that transcended traditional military alliances. The resistance is spreading faster than we expected, Vexhai reported. Enhanced beings are sharing the process with others. The hegemony is beginning to notice unusual activity, but they don't understand what they're seeing. Amy watched the stars through the ship's viewport and knew that humanity had started something that couldn't be stopped. Somewhere out there, enhanced aliens were preparing for a war that would determine the future of galactic civilization. Captain Jake Morrison had volunteered to lead the first joint human-alien fleet. His ship was a hybrid design that combined human tactical thinking with alien technology. The crew included enhanced members of all 4 allied species, working together in ways that seemed natural despite their different biologies. The hegemony is moving faster than expected, Jake reported during a secure communication. Our scouts detected 3 scout fleets entering different sectors. They're trying to locate the source of the enhanced beings. Amy felt the quantum connection to her alien allies pulsing with shared determination. Then we better be ready for them. How long before the main hegemony fleet arrives? 2 months at most. Maybe less if they decide we're a serious threat. We are a serious threat, Amy said. We're the most serious threat they've ever faced. We're not just fighting for territory or resources. We're fighting to prove that freedom is possible. The return journey to Earth took 4 days. During that time, Amy received reports from resistance cells throughout the galaxy. The Alliance was growing beyond anything they had imagined. Enhanced beings were making contact with enslaved populations on hundreds of worlds. The quantum connections were creating a network of shared consciousness that spanned thousands of light years. When the Unity docked at Luna Station, Amy found that Earth had transformed itself into a fortress. Blood donation centers operated around the clock. Factories produced enhancement equipment and medical supplies. Military units trained alongside alien advisors who had traveled to Earth. To share their knowledge, General Hayes met them at the airlock with news that changed everything. Commander, we've detected the hegemony's main fleet. They're 3 weeks out and they're bringing everything they have. Over 10,000 ships, including planet killers. Amy felt the weight of the galaxy's future pressing down on her. How many allies do we have? Enhanced beings on 400 worlds. Maybe 50,000 ships if they all join the fight? The odds are still against us, but we have advantages the hegemony doesn't understand. What advantages? We have something they've never faced before. We have an alliance based on shared enhancement rather than conquest. We have beings who fight for each other instead of just themselves. And we have humans who are willing to give everything they have to strangers who became family. The hegemony fleet arrived at the edge of the solar system like a dark cloud that blocked out the stars. 10,000 ships of every size and design moved in perfect formation toward Earth. At their head was the flagship Dominator, a massive vessel that could destroy planets with a single weapon. Admiral Korthvek commanded the fleet from the bridge of the Dominator. He was a member of the hegemony's ruling council and had overseen the destruction of 12 rebellious worlds. He expected this mission to be simple and quick. Begin standard sterilization protocol, he ordered. Destroy old defensive installations. First, then target the major population centers. I want this system cleansed within 6 hours. But as the hegemony fleet moved deeper into the solar system, they encountered something unexpected. The human defenses were not limited to Earth's ships. Vessels of dozens of different designs appeared from hidden positions throughout the system. Enhanced aliens fought alongside human crews in ways that confused hegemony tactical computers. Amy commanded the Alliance fleet from the bridge of a new ship called the Liberation. Her crew included enhanced members of every allied species working together with perfect coordination. The quantum connections created by human blood allowed them to anticipate each other's actions and respond to threats faster than any single species could manage. "All ships, this is Admiral Carter," she broadcast on all frequencies. "Today we fight not just for our worlds, but for the right of all beings to choose their own destiny. Show them what freedom looks like." The first battle was unlike anything the galaxy had ever seen. Enhanced Zephyrians coordinated attacks across multiple fronts while enhanced Pronthuk warriors led boarding parties that overwhelmed hegemony crews. Enhanced Nexari hacked into enemy systems and turned hegemony weapons against their own ships, but the Alliance had more than just enhanced abilities. They had something the hegemony had never encountered: the willingness to sacrifice for strangers who had become family. Human ships threw themselves between alien vessels and incoming fire. Alien crews did the same to protect human colonies. Admiral Korthvek watched his carefully planned attack dissolve into chaos. What are these creatures? How are they coordinating so effectively? His tactical officer was enhanced himself, though he had hidden this fact from his commanders. "Sir, they appear to be using some form of quantum communication that allows instantaneous coordination across vast distances." "Impossible. No species has that technology." "Sir, I'm detecting massive energy signatures from the human homeworld. They're not just defending, they're broadcasting something." On Earth, Dr. Morgan had activated the Planetary Enhancement Network. Blood processing centers in every major city were connected to quantum transmitters that could send the enhancement signal to any being within light years. The message was simple and broadcast in every known language. Anyone who wanted freedom could have it. The response was immediate and overwhelming. On hegemony ships throughout the galaxy, enslaved crew members began to change. Enhanced by the quantum signal from Earth, they turned against their masters with abilities that should have been impossible. The rigid command structure that had maintained hegemony control for millennia collapsed in a matter of hours. Entire hegemony fleets found themselves fighting internal rebellions as their own crews gained the ability to interface with ship systems and coordinate resistance efforts. Planets that had been slaves for centuries suddenly had populations capable of overthrowing their oppressors. Admiral Korthvek realized too late that he was fighting more than just the human system. He was fighting a revolution that had spread across the galaxy in the time it took his fleet to travel from the core worlds. "All ships, retreat to the outer system," he ordered. "We need to regroup and assess the situation." But retreat was no longer possible. Enhanced beings throughout his fleet were turning against hegemony officers. His own bridge crew was beginning to question orders that had never been questioned before. The quantum enhancement spreading from Earth was not just granting new abilities. It was awakening a sense of individual worth and freedom that the hegemony had spent millennia suppressing. Amy saw the confusion in the enemy fleet and pressed the advantage. "All Alliance ships, advance, they're breaking apart from the inside." The Liberation led the charge toward the massive hegemony flagship. Around them, ships from hundreds of worlds fought together with a coordination that seemed impossible. Enhanced humans and aliens shared tactical information through quantum connections that allowed them to function as a single organism with thousands of bodies. The battle for the Dominator was brief but decisive. Enhanced Alliance forces boarded the flagship and found that most of the crew had already turned against their officers. Admiral Korthvek stood alone on his bridge as Amy and her team arrived to accept his surrender. "You have doomed the galaxy," he said with bitter anger. "The hegemony brought order to chaos. Without our control, the galaxy will tear itself apart." The galaxy was already tearing itself apart," Amy replied. "You just made sure only your people benefited from the destruction." Korthvek looked around at the mixed crew of humans and aliens who had captured his ship. "These enhancements you've created will fade. Biology cannot be permanently altered by simple blood transfusions." Vexai stepped forward, his silver skin glowing with quantum energy. "The enhancements are not fading, Admiral. They are spreading." Every enhanced being can share the gift with others. Every world that gains freedom becomes a source of liberation for its neighbors. Within days of the battle, the transformation of the galaxy was complete. The hegemony's rigid hierarchy collapsed, as enhanced beings on every world demanded freedom and equality. Ancient barriers between species dissolved as quantum connections created understanding that transcended biological differences. Amy found herself appointed as the first human ambassador to the Galactic Alliance of Free Worlds. The new government was unlike anything in galactic history. Instead of conquest and domination, it was based on cooperation and mutual aid. Enhanced beings shared knowledge and resources freely, creating technologies that no single species could have developed alone. The greatest discovery was not that human blood could enhance other species. It was that enhanced beings from different worlds could work together to solve problems that had seemed impossible. Disease, hunger, and conflict became manageable challenges. When billions of enhanced minds worked together across the quantum network, Earth became the center of this new civilization, not through conquest but through generosity. Humans continued to donate blood freely to any species that requested enhancement. In return, alien civilizations shared their knowledge and technology with a planet that had been isolated for millennia. Dr. Morgan established research centers on dozens of worlds where enhanced scientists from every species worked together to understand the quantum mechanics that made their abilities possible. They discovered that consciousness itself was a quantum phenomenon and that the connections created by human blood were actually tapping into fundamental forces of the universe. The former hegemony worlds adapted to freedom with surprising speed. Species that had been enemies for centuries found themselves working together on projects that benefited everyone. The rigid caste systems that had defined galactic civilization for eons simply became irrelevant when every being had access to enhancement. Amy often stood in the observation deck of Luna Station and looked out at the steady stream of ships from across the galaxy. They came seeking enhancement and left carrying the gift of freedom to worlds that had never known it. The scared lieutenant who had given blood to a dying alien had become the symbol of a new age. Vexai joined her at the observation window one day as they watched a hegemony delegation arrived to request enhancement for their remaining populations. Do you ever regret the choice you made in that asteroid field? Amy thought about the question seriously. The galaxy had changed beyond recognition. Entire civilizations had been transformed. Billions of beings now lived with abilities and connections that their ancestors could never have imagined. No, she said finally, we gave them the tools to build something better. What they do with those tools is up to them, and what they have built is remarkable. Amy nodded as she watched ships from hundreds of worlds working together in the space around Earth. We didn't just save the galaxy from the hegemony. We proved that different species can choose to become one people while remaining true to themselves. The quantum network that connected enhanced beings across the galaxy pulsed with shared satisfaction. Humanity had given its blood freely and in return had gained a family that spanned the stars. The galaxy would never again know the isolation and fear that had defined the age of the hegemony. In the end, what shook the galaxy was not the power in human blood, but the willingness to share that power with anyone who needed it. The greatest weapon against tyranny had always been compassion, and humanity had reminded the galaxy what that looked like.